So we're into our first race of the year, Santos Tour Down Under. I've already had another string of something like 6 for 6 invites successful. So with 40k left in the final stage of the Santos Tour Down Under, let me go over why I've skipped to stage 6 of 6. My first biggest objective of the year is the Cadell Evans Great Ocean Road Race. So all the riders for that one aren't here. They are headed towards Fitness Peaks, and I regularly sacrifice a little bit of my early season form on purpose because the game, by design, as you hit these objectives and fall back and hit the next objective and fall back, unless you only set up a couple of objectives per year, you will regularly see extreme fatigue by the end of the season. Really bad. Really bad fatigue. So I have started making the habit of beginning every rider on the team at normal, and that puts you in the 70 to 80% fitness range. Santos Tour Down Under is the only very early race. Cadell Evans comes in that little bit later, about a week and a half later, and makes it a little better by that point, but it's the first couple races that hurt. So as we hit Willunga Hill for the first time of 2 times, next time up that will be the finish line, my team comes in a less than ideal state. And none of the sprinters are here because Cadell Evans Great Ocean Road Race is a sprint. So all the sprinters are at this. I have plenty of good climbers, but they're in bad fitness levels. So I have very low expectations for this race. In preparation with 0 race day condition bonuses, it's all over the place. And actually, it's an okay draw. It's about neutral. But our key guy, Hagland, he's the one with a -5. Everybody else is looking pretty okay. So Hagland's been relegated to domestique for the day. Our backup leaders are nowhere near his quality, so relying on Abdullah, who's got a 76 for his punchiness, Derek G, who's a 74, and Panamar, who's a 76, is just, it's going to give us less than ideal results. But new man, Haddad, gets to ride for the first time. He's a good solid climber, but he's not a puncher, so he's not going to be able to finish off a race such as this one. And so expectations are pretty low. I don't think we're going to be coming away with a victory today, but with 8k left, and as we turn left into the final run up, the hill is just there ahead of us. There's Willunga Hill right now, so we've got to set it up, have a go, do our best, but the first couple races are going to be largely a wash, and that Cadell Evans race is a major objective, so wish me luck on that part. Let's see what we can do here first. So largely a race day condition based lineup here for this one as we get down to 6k to go. Still coming up on that. I want Zipinati to kind of keep pushing here. We'll have Hagland take over in a second, but at 5.4k, it's time to just get gels for all. Hagland will take over definitely before we get to that finish, but right now we're out front, which is what we wanted. Okay, Hagland to push on, try to extend that away from the others, and setting us up. We're in good position now with 3k to go. Hagland, done. Montez, 97. Don't destroy everybody. Montez hung up on Hagland there for a little bit. 2k, here comes the attack of others, but they are going too soon with it, and they're just not going to be able to counter. 1.4k, Abdullah soft sprinting. Derek G is still in position. Can he come through? No. Gross looks like a hard catch right now, even though he went super early. Unless he really fades, he's going to hang on and win. Are we holding off any other chasers, though, at least for a podium? It's not going to snowball, but it's going to get us a decent result. Gegenhardt does come through, so Mateo Gross hangs on, surprisingly, but Gegenhardt second. G gets third, Panamar gets 5th, Haddad gets 6th. It's a good little, at least, stage result, little mini result. Will there be any time gaps, though. I mean, it's already been 20 seconds, but it's only punchy. So I doubt we're going to see very many time gaps, if any. Gross is the only one who might actually pull a time gap here. But if there are any gaps, we're going to see our position improve in the GC and get us at least a decent haul of points. Points are not going to be a big concern this year because we're going to be racing a full World Tour calendar. So it should be quite easy to secure the points necessary to not only get a top 2, but easily get number 1 of the Continental Pro rankings. I could only imagine that if Hagland had a +2 instead of a -5, and that we were setting him up the way we set up G, that he would have had a real shot. But Mateo Gross would have been a hard catch. Beating Gegenhardt is a different matter. Anyway, we get third on the stage. There is separation. In fact, my 3 guys are amongst a very small group, 6 riders that get separation to 15 seconds before you see the bulk of the field. But is them gaining 7, or in the case of G, 11 seconds, is that enough to move them up the GC? Enough to grab some points. 16, 17, 20. Caleb Ewan takes the win overall. Already a decent haul of points, though, for a team that was not fit coming into the race. Did not get the race day condition the way we needed it to go. And me skipping through 5 stages, that's already a decent haul of points. But this season is definitely going to be about snowballing. I'm not sure who it was, but in the first 3 weeks of the season already, one of my support riders has gone from a 3.5 star to a 4 star in quality. More than one of them, even. I'm up to 5 riders at 4 star quality, which means there's an extra one here off the page. We were at 3.5 stars. So 2 riders have progressed to 4 stars in the first 3 weeks of the season. Everybody else remains the same, but we have one more 4.5 star than we had a year ago. We lose Zhu. Zhu is gone, but in his stead, I added Kevin Lind and Hisham Haddad. So 2 4.5 star riders to replace 1 outgoing 4.5 star rider. And then in the first 3 weeks, we've added multiple 4 star riders, and now we push 4 stars beyond the visible page. We are deeper right now than we've ever been before, and we're going to have that full World Tour race calendar. So we're looking a lot stronger. We managed to get some World Tour wins a season ago, but here's one key difference that I'm going to have to watch out for in my planning. A season ago, we only had a handful of World Tour races, like 4, 3. It was incredibly easy to pinpoint those and throw objectives on them for the complete team and go out with a complete team, with objectives, with fitness peaks, and find some success. This season, they're going to be spread out. We're going to get a lot more opportunities, but the preparation will not be the same. And the preparation is going to take me time to set up. We've got to actually get the invites. We've got to get into the races to be able to plan accordingly. And we've got a very thin team. Right now, Tour to Rwanda and the UAE Tour were already scheduled. I've just added Omloop Het Nieuwsblad to that calendar. It wasn't there previously, so now I'm going to have to plan accordingly for that, which is going to take a rework of the schedule. Nobody had any objectives for that, so that'll make that easy enough to just change things out. Rwanda is not going to be an important race. I think we would rather focus on UAE and or Omloop Het Nieuwsblad, but with a full World Tour calendar, fatigue is going to be a bigger issue this year. Managing race loads is going to be a much bigger issue. I cannot put Hagland on every single stage race all year long. He would crawl into a hole and die of exhaustion. Can't do that to him. Got to balance it out. So do I throw him at an Omloop Het Nieuwsblad? That's why I didn't initially schedule him for the UAE Tour, as the UAE Tour has 4 sprints. I'm going to target those sprints and see if our sprint team can maybe grab us a win. But of course, sprints were updated, and we found a lot of success after that update happened. And then they were updated back the other direction, and we've gone back to struggling to secure sprint victories. Was it the quality of competition going up as we were climbing the ladder? Or was it the update going one direction and then the other, and life being difficult? Hard to say. Could be a combination of both, or could be very simply one or the other. But my sponsor objectives for the year are going to be very clear, clean, concise, and incredibly easy overall to secure a maximum rating. Here's why. When I went in to select my race objectives, the sponsors were quite clearly into the idea of getting into big races that we weren't scheduled to get into. But after what we did last season, let me move the camera, it was pretty clear that we should be getting those invites, right? We got that top 2. I didn't get an email confirming that we would have access to better races, but that's how the system has worked for years, so I had to assume that it still functioned that way. I had mentioned this all last season for many episodes, and none of you commented that it changed this year. So even though I didn't get a confirmation email, I had to assume that it was still going to be that way. And so virtually all of our objectives for the year was gain an invitation to a high-profile race, knowing that we probably would get all or most of those successfully. For that, my maximum, if objectives are achieved, is going to be through the roof, a 99 and an 85 for our 2 sponsors. We can get an incredibly high rating. And already my rating has gone up quite a bit because some of those races have already succeeded. We've gotten an invitation to 2 of the 4 already. Paris-Roubaix, check it off. We're going to be there. Tour de France, check it off. We're going to be there. Giro, Lombardia, we don't know yet. I had my first portion of the season lined up in the same way on the gain and invitation, but I was fearful that without the confirmation email that maybe it wasn't the case. So I threw in a couple races that we had invites to that the sponsors were fairly happy with. Otherwise, I could have gotten a 99 and a 98. A couple just a little bit less objectives and still managed to have a super high rating. A big chance to really increase the funds from our sponsor finally this year. To do that, though, to lower that just that little bit to get some real practical objectives, Cadel, Evans, I had to take top 10, and Bruges to Pain, top 5. Both of them are sprints, both of them are early in the season, and effectively are the only objectives that I'm going to have to worry about, because everything else is, are we at the race or aren't we? And I've already done the work to make sure that we're going to get an invite to most every race for the year. Now we're just waiting on Giro and Lombardia on whether we get into those. Lombardia is one of the last ones we'll find out about, as it's at the tail end of the season, or at least I think it's one of the last ones. But Tour de France comes first. We've already got the invite. Giro will come later. But from that, it's going to be really hard to have a poor rating. So our prospecting project this year is going to be quite easy. One of the tougher things, though, is grabbing that 15 race wins. And still no team ranking in the world team rankings. Really surprised they don't care about that part. But, we're already looking pretty good. We're already looking much better than what we were in previous years. And we should already be seeing a boost to the money offered to us. As for the preparation with the objective for the whole team, everybody's going to have a +1, and because of the objective, it pushed their fitness up much faster than normal. So I've got an entire team with a high level of fitness in the mid-90s, and the objective, the expected +1. We should be in pretty good shape, and we somehow find ourselves amongst the favorites for this race. Not at the top end of it, but certainly at the, gosh, we should actually be competitive here. We need a top 10. I feel like securing that should be a foregone conclusion. Securing something a little bit higher, like, say, a top 5 or a podium, is quite possible. Could we get a win? Maybe. Should I expect it? No. A -5 draw is not what I had in mind for the day, but the good news is that -4 of the -5 is 2 domestiques, and that none of the riders have a bad race day condition. It's just a little disappointing that we're not, at least neutral or somebody with a positive. Not one rider has a positive race day condition. You have either expected or a negative. So as we hit the only climb of the day, it's going to be a 4-time climb. The field has split multiple times. It's a pretty weak field. There's a lot of riders in this field that are not ready for the season yet. And it's showing that they're looking on the weaker side. And right now, there's just 40 of us chasing the breakaway. Still has a 2-minute advantage. Definitely not a given that it's going to be caught.
A small group of riders are trying to get clear of the bunch.
Here's the climb. Second time as we go through.
The strongest can create some gaps.
Okay, big acceleration there. We lost a lot of ground even though it didn't blink red. So it's time to accelerate. Okay, we got a rider that's lost contact. I'm okay with this at the moment. We just need it all to come back together. And are these guys going to actually chase or not? Right now it's looking like they might not. Salah, make sure we got somebody contributing to a chase. There is no chase. There is no chase. Salah, what's going on? You're telling me 42 riders don't care? Or 35 riders don't care whether they're in the peloton or not? Okay, he is chasing it down, but he's going to need support. Zayats will get in. Okay, now we're getting... Well, you're getting guys that are just attacking to try to bridge the gap instead of actually working to bridge the gap. So Zayat's doing the work now. We're still behind. We're not in contact. We're going to hit this hill, and we're going to have to push on harder. We might have to sprint train this sooner than would be expected. There we go. We're back in contact, but does that contact hold? Salah dropped. It does not. And it's still Zayat's doing the chasing. 23K.
The finish will seem a long way off.
Again, almost in contact. That front group's been caught. Zayat's is nearly done. My guys are back in position. We got to sprint train early. We don't have a choice. Zayat's is going to keep working for just a fraction of a second. And then we'll get whoever Lind on his wheel ready to take over. Alright, so Zayats is already pushing. Lind now takes over. And the pursuit is very much on. It's unfortunate that the group just simply split because 30 guys decided to accelerate. I mean, that's a very not normal thing. And that everybody else is just like, oh yeah, see ya, have fun. That's not how a real life peloton works very often, or how the game works, but it's worked like that here. And we are going to have to respond, and we are responding, and now there's at least a few others that are pushing on. We're only 30 seconds behind. Hitting this next climb is going to be a good opportunity to kind of close that up, but I've got to save something for Shaw, pick roll, lead out wise. 11K, 40 seconds down. Lind, outer red bar, give me a 99, max effort. Vasilevsky, how are you as a puncher? Not great. Not great. Onto the climb. Don't need a 99 effort, but close it down. Close it down. Back in contact. Keep pushing on because, again, you're going to see an acceleration by some. This is going to hurt red bar wise. We've got 8K left. So this guy. Okay, group of 21, and we're in it. Group of 21, and we're in it. 6.4K. Now there's 3 riders off the front as Vasilevsky is up there alone. On to Harasim and 5K. We only need a top 10, by the way, but I really like to compete for a sprint of some kind, and Shaw is struggling. We're going to switch Shaw and Pickrell. 99. Sprint. 2K out. Still 4 riders up the road. 1.8K. So Shaw takes over to lead out Pickrell, who's fresh. And Pickrell goes that front group hung on.
That's just
It's
fantastic.
Samuel
He really
Watson
was the
ahead of
strongest in the leading group.
Bell. Hool gets dropped but stays third anyway. Groves, Ewan win the sprint. Pickrell gets exactly 10th. Wow, that was exactly 10th. That was a chaotic race. Did not go the way we would want it to. It was not a traditional sprint. And we were very much on the losing end of things. We very much had to use up half of our team to get back in contention. And then there were still 4 riders up the road. Or 3 riders up the road. It was 4. I think Crawl or somebody was also up there, but got, swallowed up. Ben O'Connor, possibly. And then we very much weren't in position to have a strong lead out. We had to switch our sprinter at the last second. Like, everything that could go wrong, short of crashing, did go wrong. We squeezed out the result we needed. We got 10th place. That's a race we definitely would have wanted better, but it didn't go the way you would want it to go. Like, again and again and again, things were going the wrong direction, going against us. We made contact. Oh, the group splits again ahead of us. It wasn't us that split it, but the group splits again. Like, it's one thing after another. And it, again, the second time around, and I called it as it happened. Like, you could sense that there's riders that are trying to turn this into a punchy day, and they did, and they succeeded. They got the win. We were on the back foot, and then we were catching up, and then more back foot, and more back foot, and more back foot, and 10th place. So, phew, sigh of relief on that one. Sponsor objectives are on track. The next one, top 5 expected. Hopefully we'll have fitness peaks for some of those riders, and certainly objectives for most of them. A few of them are split towards some Paris-Roubaix type objectives, but anybody who was at that race, I've kind of prioritized either the Giro or Rouge de Pen, and not Paris-Roubaix, because for me Paris-Roubaix is not going to be a big deal, but it was one of the sponsor objectives. Just being there, though. I'm going to have to pick and choose objectives carefully as we go along, but I'm waiting that little bit to see what races we are in and what races we're not, and then I will kind of reevaluate objectives for the year. For the early part of the season, really just the 2 are going to matter because of the sponsor objective part, and we desperately need more cash. That's why Shu is gone. That's why other riders have been unsignable. If we had the cash to do so, we could have a bigger, better, stronger team here and now. I've got 3 riders with 5.5 star potential that are already now at the top of our list of current ability riders, but at 5, 4.5, it's going to take that a little bit more, right? Will 2 5-star guys get me into World Tour? Probably not. Will a 5.5 and a 5 get me in? Probably. Will 3 5-star riders get me in? Probably. And we got 3 guys with 5.5 star potential. So hanging on to them is going to be paramount to our long-term objectives. And realistically now, right, this is a very different season than the one we just encountered. There's going to be a lot more just picking and choosing our moments and seeing where we can snowball and make sure we've got the 3 best riders we can get at the end of the season. We weren't that far off from making World Tour. And the snowball's not been crazy for the database itself. There's good riders out there, but it hasn't gotten out of hand. So making World Tour is a possibility for next season, and then just being done with Continental Pro once and for all, not having to ask, being able to set everything up on the first day of the season and know your objectives. That's all nice. However, the circumstances we have, it's a great opportunity this year, setup-wise, to really boost the finances. That's going to do it for this episode, though. I'm Decathlon Gamer. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Have a good one. Be safe out there. Bye for now.